Hi, I'm Phil Eby with Ames Construction, and we're here today with another installment of Get to Know Ames. Our goal is to introduce you to the team at Ames, but not only to our team, to some of our favorite clients as well, and also some of our trade and professional partners who help us get the job done on time, on budget, and built right. So last year, Ames finished up a multifaceted project at Ephrata Church of the Brethren. It was a real privilege for us to be a part of that project. And we today are thankful to have one of our favorite clients, Brian Messler from Ephrata Church of the Brethren. He's the lead pastor there, and we're looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better. The project we did for you guys involved a lot of different things. I have a list here.
Yes.
Renovated the sanctuary, kind of flipped it around. A brand new main entrance. The old entrance is now a main office entrance. And correct me if I'm wrong in any of these things. We converted the multi-purpose room into a fellowship hall welcome center, really. Renovated the offices and the life groups. Renovated the daycare center. Enclosed the carport, which is now a conference room. Mm-hmm. Upgraded a little bit of HVAC, new public bathrooms, renovated the youth area. Mm-hmm. Did I hit all the buttons there?
We basically did 100% renovation. I mean, top to bottom.
Yeah.
We changed so many things in the space.
Yeah, there was a lot going on.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, we just enjoyed the project so much, but and we're eager to talk about that and what Ames did there. But certainly we want to first get a chance to get to know you better and a little bit more about the church and the mission of the church. Mm-hmm. If you could, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you ended up becoming pastor at Ephrata Church of the Brethren.
Yeah, so I've actually been in ministry. I was trying to count the years that I was in ministry. I've been in ministry for about 28 years.
Wow.
And I look so extremely young that's impossible for it to be that way.
That's what I was thinking.
I know. I've been in ministry for 28 years. I was licensed into the ministry around 1993. Okay. I actually was licensed on Halloween, so that's kind of a weird thing. I don't know if I want to go too far with that, but so I've been in ministry. I've served a couple of different churches. Went to seminary out in Indiana at Bethany Seminary, our denominational seminary.
Okay.
And served a church called Happy Corner out there. I was a youth pastor and became an associate, and then moved to Frederick, Maryland, where I was serving for about 12 and a half years. And during that time, I just felt this tug on my heart to be a lead pastor, and something that I always thought I would be, but I didn't know the timing, God's timing in that. Yeah. And so the great people of Ephrata Church of the Brethren, they called me, and in our denomination, it's a calling process.
Okay.
And so they called me, and I came up and interviewed with them, and preached a couple of messages up there, and then they called me to be their pastor, and I accepted. And so
very good.
That's kind of how I got connected with Ephrata. I've been there for about 4.5 years now, and year 5 will be at the end of November. It's been a very unique season there so far. Lots of different things happening, but they're a great congregation, great people.
Oh, that's great. Well, Ephrata is blessed to have you here.
Well, that's great. Thanks. I appreciate that. I'm definitely blessed, but
1993 doesn't sound like 28 years ago.
I know. That's unreal.
A little crazy.
It's unreal. It's unreal.
So tell us a little bit about the church in general.
Sure.
And some of your, some of the history and some of your mission and purpose now, really, whatever you want to tell us.
Yeah, so Ephrata Church of the Brethren was founded in 1899, and so they're actually coming up on their 125th anniversary. Mm-hmm. And of course, they started downtown, and back in about 72, 73, they decided to kind of move out of town, and actually there was a fire at their church that kind of really pushed them to make this decision. And so they purchased this land right outside of downtown Ephrata, and they decided to go ahead and build there in 1973.
Okay.
And so that building there is about 46 years old.
Okay.
Going to be 47 here. And it's been an absolutely amazing transition from kind of being an inner city church, a town church, to kind of being on the outside now. But they've really grown and discerned kind of that's where they needed to be, where they wanted to be. And actually the schools weren't there at that time.
Oh, right.
And so,
Right.
the new schools kind of came out there. So they really have had the opportunity of connecting with the schools in a very unique way. And so over these last number of years, our mission has kind of been fourfold, but I'll kind of share our whole mission statement with you.
Sure.
It's that we're a family of disciples, and it's really says a lot to start out that way, because we are a family. We're a group of people who love each other, who care for one another. And as you know, families grow and they welcome new people in, but it's of disciples, that we're followers of Jesus. And so we're a family of disciples that connect to, grow in, live out, and radiate the transformative power of Jesus in the world. And we focus on those 4 words that connect, grow, live, and radiate in everything that we do. And so that's really kind of where we are right now, and we're learning what it means to be a part of this great community of Ephrata.
Yeah.
And I just want to share too, I mean, maybe this is a sidebar to some of your questions, but I personally really appreciate all of the congregations in our area, and each congregation has a very unique perspective and a unique voice in our community. And I'm a kingdom person, and so I focus on the kingdom, not necessarily just ECOB. While I'm a pastor here and I love the flock here, I just want people to come to know Jesus. And that's really who we are as a congregation. And so we want people to be engaged. We see ourselves as seed planters, and just hope that fruit comes out and people are kind of in the vineyard. So that's who we are. That's who we desire to be.
It's really cool. I really appreciate that perspective of just seeing the value of everyone in the community, all the churches, and their unique position.
Yeah, it's so important to do it together.
Yeah. So just building on that a little bit, Ephrata is part of northern Lancaster County. Ephrata Church of the Brethren is really, I mean, you're on the west side, if you will, but, right in Ephrata in a sense. And compared to, I guess, years ago, you were on the outskirts of Ephrata, and now you're right in it again.
Yeah.
What does it mean for Ephrata Church of the Brethren? Talk about it a little bit for, you're part of the community of Ephrata and greater northern Lancaster County.
So for me at least, I'm new to this area, so I'm an outsider.
Where's
in
home area for you?
So I would claim probably Maryland is home area around Baltimore. I grew up around Baltimore.
Okay.
So I'm kind of new to the Lancaster County dynamic, and it's one of the most over-churched counties in the nation probably. But what I'll say is, for me at least, Lancaster County just has this very unique perspective on what it means to be a follower of Jesus. And so if we took our 4 kind of things that we have, our connect, grow, live, radiate, we desire to connect to one another, connect to this community in which we live. We connect to each other in a way that we pray will kind of deepen our faith. But that grow side is, we're growing as disciples. We're learning what it means to be Jesus followers. Then we live that out. We live it out through our worship, through our through how we connect faith-wise with one another. We hope that we are doing better in our life, growing better in a relationship with Jesus. But then the radiate side is really what you're talking about. Is our church is so desires to be an impact in the community and a voice in the community. And so we really hope to be Jesus's hands and feet through mission work, through that radiate. We want to radiate that love of Jesus in this community. And so we're involved in so many different ways in the community, because we just really believe that the voice that we have been given needs to radiate inside of the community. So it's great to be in Lancaster County.
Yeah. It's interesting as you talk about that, because your building is kind of uniquely situated there, with a residential area.
Yep.
And for those of you that don't know, the church is just on the west side of Ephrata, just not far off of Route 322 in a little area called Lincoln Heights.
Right.
And but yet you're also next to the community fields there, and the school fields and the schools and the rec center, kind of a community gathering area.
It's a hub. It really is.
It really is. And right by an artery. So that's really neat that you can see that playing out in who you want to be and who you are.
Definitely.
How does all that tie to the recent renovations?
Yeah. So when I came to ECOB, I guess it was in the fall of 2016, and my first Sunday was November 14th. I just, this is just how I remember things. The first conversation that I had after my first Sunday, somebody came in my office, and their first words were, Brian, we need to do something about this church. And I'm like, okay, well, see, for me, when you say we need to do something about the church, like that means the body of Christ,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
right.
so I said, do you mean the building or the church? You know, and they're like, well, yes, but the building itself, we need
Yeah.
to do something about the building.
Yeah.
The building at that point had been 20 or 43 years old.
Yeah.
Nothing major had been done to it.
Okay.
And so like a lot of the same flooring, same wall colors,
Yeah.
things like that. I mean,
Right.
the pews were the same
Okay.
pews for 43 years, and so they were saying we needed to update it. There were a lot of little things wrong, but there were some major things that were wrong,
Okay.
like not enough bathrooms for the size congregation that we had. The entrance was a little bit different. You know, you would have a lot of people kind of funneled into this kind of kitchen hallway to go to
Okay.
worship. And so at any point, you would feel like a herd of cattle being kind of crowded into this little hallway back and forth.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and so there were a lot of little things that needed to be addressed
Okay.
there. As I heard that, and I'm like, well, there's no way I'm going to do a building project in my first year here.
Right.
We listened and just paid attention to those comments throughout the first couple of years. After about 2 years or so, we really started to reach this point of saying, okay, we need to do something. And if we're going to do something, we need to make sure that it's not just focused on kind of our needs, but really focused on what the needs are for our community.
Yeah.
And so this whole concept came out with this idea of our building campaign called Beyond the Building.
Okay.
And so that's really what our focus is. It's beyond this building, that our mission, our ministry isn't just about the building, but it's who we want to be beyond that.
Yeah.
And so we really focused on finding opportunities to partner with different organizations within our community to say, okay, we're not just going to do this for us,
Okay.
but what do you all need in a building?
Yeah.
How can we serve you if we were to do something new here?
Yeah.
And so our focus then was really about engaging the community and engaging our own congregation members, but really focused on how can we serve those other places locally, organizations. And so like we've started partnering with Power Packs, and we have a space for them in our church. And so they give out tons of food each week to over 100 families
Okay.
in our community to help them kind of make it through the week, make it through the weekend. We started working with TNT saying, how can you use our facility? And they're like, well, we could really use your gym to help with our intermediate program. So yeah, okay, we're going to give you the gym. We said, we talked with Bible Adventure, which is a weekly Bible study that students from the intermediate school can come up and participate in. So how can we serve you? We just need a place where we can do this.
Yeah.
So all of those things
Right there by the school.
right by the school,
Yeah.
and we're like, how can we serve the school? How can we serve the rec center? How can we serve this community, like you mentioned, that's right behind us?
Yeah.
And so those were some of the things that we decided to do because we decided to do the building program because of what they needed.
Yeah.
And so, we have our church open, our community room, we call it, which is a big gathering space, lots of sofas and chairs, and place to hang
It's a
out,
great
free
space.
Wi-Fi, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And we decided to open up from 8 in the morning to like 9 at night, and so people could just come in and hang out.
Nice.
And so we're starting to see, like, with football down on the fields, with baseball down on the fields, that parents are, usually they just park their trucks, and it really is a lot of trucks, that park our trucks in our parking lot, but we're now going to tell them, hey, why don't you just come on up and hang out inside?
Yeah.
I mean, you can use our Wi-Fi. We have free drinks and snacks there, regularly available every day. Just come on and hang out in there. And so we're starting to see more and more of that.
I'll bet.
So it's really about engaging the community and what they needed. So
The process then, you decided, we want to engage our community.
right.
So talk a little bit about the decision-making process, the design, and ultimately how you ended up choosing Ames.
Right. Yeah. So there's a great proverb that says, "Many hands make light work," and that's really great when you're doing something physical.
Yeah.
But when you're dreaming stuff, the more hands actually make it more difficult.
Yeah.
And so we had a smaller team of maybe about 9 or 10 people, which was our building team. We called it our building team, and we got together and started praying, and that's what we did for the first about 6 months or so. God, where do you want us to go? Where are you leading motivating us? What are your dreams? And then how can we be a part of your dream? And so we started there, and as we started there, we started to look at companies, various companies, and we had about 4 or 5 different companies that bid for this project, and all of them were really great. And in fact, we really came down to 2 companies that we really connected with, you all and another company. And as we started praying through the 2 companies, there were definite things that drew us to you all. And so first of all, Jim, who is no longer here, he was a huge factor. His demeanor, who he was, really connected with us. And then, of course, the Shalacy's, who were our architects, Kyle and Mark, they absolutely kind of tipped it over the edge for us. And so what they brought to the table, their demeanor, their attitude, really kind of connected with us.
Good.
Now, what I will say is it's great because I believe God affirmed that through the people that we had a chance to work with after that final decision. And I just wanted to name some of those people because I think this is where, and if I get emotional on this, I just forgive me, because it's really something that really spoke to us. We got to know Mark really well. He lived really close to one of the members of our building team who has passed on, Keith Hall. We knew Steve. We connected with Steve. Jan kind of picked up the reins from Jim, and Jan was just absolutely amazing. He was always accessible, always connected with us, got our vision, got the mission of who we wanted to be. And all of those people are great, right? But there's one person that just definitely affirmed, and that was Junior Risser.
Really?
I tell you what, he is just a man after our hearts. God put him in the right position because God knew that we were going to make a lot of changes and we were going to make a lot of additions and subtractions and stuff. And Junior just went with the flow. He was always able. We always called him whenever we needed help. He and I were locked at the hip for a lot of the season. And he just really was just a great asset to your team and to this building project. I don't know if we would be in a place where we would our anxiety or struggles or worries or anything without Junior there. Really? I mean, he really calmed everything down. He's just an even keel guy. He bent over backwards for us in numerous amounts of times. And I just can't say enough about Junior and the team here.
I really appreciate you saying that. Just for those of you watching, Junior Risser was the superintendent on the job, and Jan Barringer was the project manager, and then Steve Burridge and Mark Yoder are owners of Ames. Mark's the president, and Steve is the vice president of construction management. So I appreciate those words.
Top to bottom. Top to bottom. Even early on in the project, I would go to Dunkin' Donuts and I'd bring in donuts for the guys every Friday morning. And I just really loved the opportunity of connecting with them. Everybody would stop and say hello, and they were just kind and generous. And so, top to bottom, it's just been it was a great experience for us.
Well, that's great. And I will say, we talked earlier about interviewing some of our favorite clients. Your name came up over and over again as people who we really liked working for. So
it was great.
You made it a pleasure. What were some tough spots during the project, and how did Ames do for you in that?
I was thinking about this, and I was kind of rehearsing this point that I'm about ready to make a couple of different times. But I think we were the challenge a lot of times, and I don't mean to sound self-depreciating on that, but I think we were the challenge at times, because I think our team, we had a good amount of knowledge on the team, and all of our team, but Jeff Zimmerman, who actually did an amazing job, and I'll get to him later, but all of our team, each person had their own unique connection with this building, and it was just wonderful. But whenever you get a team together, decisions are going to change and focuses are going to change. And so what we did was we created a smaller, what we called a build out team, which is really the team that worked with Jan and Junior on a weekly basis. There's probably about 4 of us in that team. And I tell you what, I would walk through the hallway and I'd be like, no, that can't be that way, or that can't be that way. And so we found ourselves doing a lot of that. And we were very self-conscious about that, because what Junior would say is, this happens all the time. You don't have to worry about it. But for us, we're like, oh no, are we going to bother them some more?
Oh, sure, yeah.
And so in terms of challenges, honestly, the only challenge was us making changes, and that really isn't a big challenge for you all because you all know that. That's kind of part of your circle. COVID, of course, that was a challenge, but I have to say it was more of a blessing than it was a challenge. Because when everything shut down, and you all needed to shut down for probably about 3 weeks, I think is what we said. What happened is we could regather our forces, make sure we were on the right path. The children's center, our children's center, shut down for a season. And the timing of it was so perfect that you all, when you came back, you all were able to go in there, do the entire children's wing before we reopened.
Nice, yeah.
And so had that not happened, we might still be in this process, right? But we were able, hopefully not, yeah. But that was a huge blessing for us. So the challenges that I always look at challenges as new opportunities. And so the challenges that kind of presented itself throughout the whole process just became new opportunities for us to learn something or to grow in a different way, or honestly, for me as a person of faith, to experience God's grace in the midst of things. So it was good.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no new challenges.
A building like you mentioned, 40-some years old, not been touched. It's inevitable. Yeah. When you're renovating, that those things are going to come up.
Yeah, we're flipping the sanctuary around. We're creating a whole new space, top to bottom. It got redone. It's great.
And then someone like Junior, as you mentioned, he's handled it before. He's not going to get rattled.
Yeah, he's not.
And let's work through it.
Yeah, let's get it. Let's figure out the solution and get it done.
So Brian, we throughout the project, there was a couple opportunities where you had volunteers.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that went?
Yeah, and this is one of the things that we really appreciated in Ames' presentation, that we could actually utilize some of our own people to serve in this way. And so we had a great group of men and women in the very beginning, too, that would come in and tear up carpet and tear down ceiling tile. And I had an opportunity to bust down some walls with my daughter, which was great. Took some sledgehammer swings, some good stress relief. But we had a great group of volunteers that came in and served in that way. And what I really appreciated about it was that, Junior would just say, here's some things that you all can do. And I just sent out the email, and there were people there who would do it. And so throughout the project, there were a couple other things. Like my wife and I, we got to build a couple of the wood walls that were there. I laid out some kind of, in our sanctuary, we had this huge wood wall up front. And so I was able to come in and lay out the boards of how we wanted them up there. And so there were opportunities for us to connect in that way with volunteers. So, and that was a huge blessing. And not only did it help our congregation kind of have more of a hands-on kind of deal there, but it also saved us some money as well in the process. One of the great things, and I've told Junior and Jan that we were going to do this, but one of the wonderful things that we were able to do is, as the floor was, right before the floor was getting put down, we actually went in as a congregation and wrote down scriptures and names of people that we were praying for on the floor before that floor was laid. And so as you walk into that space, I can actually go to a person, go to a spot on the floor, and I know the name of somebody I've been praying for there, to kind of build that relationship with them. So again, just great opportunities that they allowed us to have to connect with them and with the building.
It's something we do try to do. When the opportunity is there, and I know you folks did a great job with that, and it can be a good cost savings.
It was
measure, really, because that's just labor intensive, some of that stuff, and it can help the whole project.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of finances, that's always obviously a big consideration.
Of course.
People are giving above and beyond for a project like that. Talk a little bit about how that went with Ames. We worked together on a cost-plus basis.
Right.
And can you talk about how that benefited Ephrata Church of the Brethren?
Yeah, so our congregation, when we went into this process, they gave us a maximum kind of amount that we could spend on the list of items that we gave them. And that was the list of items that we gave Ames. Here's what we said we can do. Here's what the cost is. And Ames came back with a bid for that. They gave us a kind of a number. And you all gave us a number.
That's all right.
And gave us a number, and we worked off of that. Now, of course, during the process, there were things that we paid ahead of time, which kind of reduced that, and there were some add-ons that we put on that increased that. But when all was said and done, we were able to save. So what the process is you all give us a bid. As you come under, we split that 50-50. And that actually ended up saving us a good $100,000 or so at the very end. And of course, then you all got some money as well, which is what we wanted, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think oftentimes as builders or as the customers is we want to get all the profit back, right? We want to get everything back, but we really appreciated this idea that you all were going to work hard to save money so that you can get some extra resources as well. And we were grateful to do that because we knew it was going to benefit us and benefit you at the same time. And so we were excited about that. When it's all said and done, I just need a name. When it's all said and done, the amount of money that we thought we were going to have to borrow, we never met.
Nice.
And so that was a huge plus for us. So we were able to honor the congregation's kind of cover, and we were able to be less than what we thought we were going to borrow to begin with.
Great.
So it worked out well for us.
Good. Well, I appreciate your understanding of that perspective. It does really create a synergy there where we're all working to save money. We're all going to benefit if we do.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So great. You guys have been coming out of the pandemic. We all have.
Yeah.
Your church, it was a blessing, like you mentioned in many ways, to be able to do some of the work with nobody there.
Right.
How's it been going now using the new facility and as we're getting back to normal life?
Yeah, so we started regathering in terms of our in-person worship back in May of last year. So you all had completed the sanctuary, and we started meeting back in May of last year. And throughout the pandemic time, we've needed to have different levels of mitigation based on kind of where we were in this community in terms of the needs of the community. And so we've decided at times to have a smaller groups meeting and then times where we're meeting larger groups just based on kind of the ebb and flow. So back in November, December, it was a little bit tighter than where we are now. We're a little bit more open. And so what we've been doing, Power Packs has been meeting regularly. TNT's now meeting regularly. Bible Adventures meeting regularly. We're doing a lot of other engaging in our community regularly through, we're doing an egg. We talk about going to egg people's houses. And so we have little baskets that people are bringing home. And so we're really engaging our community and utilizing our facility for that. There are meetings that are happening. Gam-Anon, is meeting at our building now. And so there's a lot of opportunities for people to connect with the community within our facility. Now, worship-wise, we're not quite at where we were beforehand because there's still people who are hesitant and wanting to kind of stay at home and do the online thing, which is great, and that's fine too. But we're definitely as full as we possibly can every week in our facility in terms of our worship services. And so we're looking, it's really been neat because as people are starting to return, they're seeing the building for the first time.
Oh, right, sure.
And so it's been really neat to kind of see people do the oohs and ahs of the new facility. And so we anticipate that's what's going to happen over the next 3 to 4 months or so as people kind of get re-engaged in the building and us adding more chairs in the sanctuary and things like that. So we've been really working through this season and we're just doing our best, but what's really great is just the newer people who are kind of coming to ECOB, either have never been to ECOB before and are experiencing our worship and our time, our fellowship for the first time, or those who have kind of coming back, kind of re-entering the space, having a new idea of what it looks like. So
you get to see that over and over again, that new experience of this is really cool.
Yeah, this is really a great space.
And it really is a really neat space.
I tell you what, we have been blessed by Mark and Kyle and their design, and our build out team really focused in on making sure it's accessible. That's kind of been our word. We just want our facility to be accessible by all people. And so, that's really it.
I think you've definitely accomplished that.
It's great.
Is there anything else as we're wrapping up here that you'd like to tell our viewers about your church, any programs, anything that's coming up? Let us know.
And I had thought about this too, and I really, I really love this idea that it's a partnership between Ames and ECOB, and I really appreciate that. And I could sit here and rattle off the dozen things that are coming up for our church, but I guess what I just want to say is we just encourage people just to go to church, just to get connected in a faith community, and Yeah, we would love for it to be ECOB, but there are a lot of other churches out there that might suit kind of where they are in their faith journey and where they connect theologically. But we just want people to go out and do that and be connected in that way. And if anybody has has a conversation about faith, I'm more than happy to have that conversation. I mean, my email, I'm sure, can be kind of put on the video here. It's brian@ecob.church. But this is on Sunday morning at 8:30 and 10:45, and we have life groups there. But Ryan Burkholder, our pastor of family ministries, he's working a lot with our youth, and Michelle Nolt, who is our children's coordinator, does a lot there. We have a great support staff with Stacy and Nolan and Cindy, and we have a connections person with Carol, who just does an awesome job, and Dean, our worship person, is just fantastic. But those are all staff, and those are great. But our congregation does so much and wants to just welcome anybody who wants to come through the doors. And so, I could tell you the list of things that we're coming up and everything, and that's great. You can find it on our website. But I just really want people to get engaged into a body of faith. And that's kind of our hope.
Yeah. Well, I sure appreciate you taking the time to share with us today. I appreciate your heart in that and your heart for people. We'll certainly put up on the screen contact info.
Great.
Your website address is
ECOB.church.
ECOB.church. Simple
Real easy,
enough. If you want to talk to Brian or check out the church, I'd encourage you to do so. And again, just for us as Ames Construction, we do all kinds of construction projects. And it's always a privilege for us to partner with something like this in our local community with local people that really is a place that's having a positive impact on our community and really contributes to the fabric of who we are. And so we're so grateful for the privilege, and thanks for your time today, and just wish you and your team at ECOB nothing but the best.
Great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian.
Yep.